All right, let's start. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. Once again, I'm Maarten, part of the sales team here at OpsLogix, and we're looking forward to a very informative webcast by Maarten. Goet. I'd just like to take a minute to quickly go over our products before our webcast starts. We make management packs. We do this according to the best practice principles set out by the Common Engineering Criteria of Microsoft. And the design of the MP follows the Dynamic Systems Initiative, which is the foundation of systems definitions in terms of rules and monitors, what needs to be monitored and so on. So we have our Oracle and VMware MPs, which is dedicated to consolidating data in the SCOM console. All of our packs are native, which means that we either use the available tools of the, for example, Oracle platform, or go over the SCOM or go through the SCOM SDK itself. Distinguishing feature of our management packs, specifically at Oracle and VMware, is the fact that the packs are fully integrated, fully native in System Center itself. So it means that the CI perspective or configuration item perspective for Service Manager can also be used with in terms of our Oracle or VMware MPs. Another pack, a very lightweight tool of ours, is our Capacity MP, which is forecasting reports. It's very lightweight, and it enables you to pull out forecasting reports on everything in the SCOM data warehouse. Our BlackBerry MP, it covers all latest versions of BlackBerry, so 5, 10, and 12 now. Swift MP, it monitors the Swift Alliance servers. And ProView is our drawing tool, or our visualization tool, better said. And this is basically, it's a tool that you use through a single machine. You can a single Visio license. You can make an unlimited amount of dashboards. You have a URL rolling out, and that URL a unique URL, and that URL it's HTML5, so you can show it on any device, whether it's a large TV screen, phone, a tablet, what have you. Okay, I think that sort of rounds it off for me. I'm going to hand over the mic to Maarten, and he'll take us through this webcast.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this webcast. The title is called Best Practices for Designing Your System Center Operations Manager 2016 Environment. And we'll be talking about both the design, the envisioning part of it, for new installations, and we'll be talking about the upgrade as well. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Maarten Goet. I'm a 10-year Microsoft MVP, specifically in the operations management space, and since 2 years also a Microsoft RD. And I work for OpsLogix as part of the technical evangelism team. Let me quickly mute everybody. There we go. All right. Well, as you know, System Center 2016 Operations Manager is still in its technical preview. The current milestone is TP5, and Microsoft announced on their blog that they're going to launch System Center 2016 during Microsoft Ignite, which is in the last week of September next month. So we're expecting the launch of the Operations Manager 2016 in roughly 8 weeks' time. So this is a good time, I guess, to look at how to prepare your environment, how to design an installation, or how to upgrade if you're already running a previous version of Operations Manager. Now, just to quickly recap, and maybe for those who don't know yet, there's a couple of components that we need to take care when designing Operations Manager 2016 environments. First and foremost, there's going to be a central operational database which holds all the database information about your environment. That is accessed by, for instance, the management server, where the management server holds your configuration. It will talk to agents. It will be able to provide access for the consoles. And so the management server is a central part of your environment as well. You can have one, you can have multiple, and together they form what we call a resource pool. Now, in previous versions of Operations Manager, you had the RMS, the root management server, as a specific server. Nowadays, since 2012 R2, since 2016, it's a role that that actually is dynamically placed on your management service and in your resource pool. So we'll not go into much detail there. And of course, one of the components that is available is the console that your operators will be working with. Other items to care about is the data warehouse database. Ever since 2012, it's a mandatory installation part where you get the reporting side of Operations Manager by installing both the database side as well as the reporting server. And of course, that's provided by SQL behind the scenes. Then there's the web console server for you to access your information through the web. And of course, you'll be running agents of various sorts, being the Windows agents, the Linux agents, and all sorts of machines providing you with information about your environment. Depending on your configuration, depending on network or other challenges, you might need to add a gateway server, where the gateway server allows you to, for instance, work with untrusted domains. It will also help you if latency is an issue with sites that might have lower bandwidth and what have you. And perhaps the least known part of Operations Manager is the Audit Collection Services, ACS in short, where you have a couple of roles. There's the collector that receives information, there's the database where it writes into, and there's the forwarders that are part of the Operations Manager agents. And this infrastructure part is used for collecting security events. So if you want to maintain the security of your Windows or Linux environment, and you have your Operations Manager agents running there, simultaneously you can actually collect the security events, do some reporting, and make sure that you're compliant. So these are, in general, in a high line, the components we need to care about. Now, when planning your deployments, I would say don't start to deploy directly on day one, hour one. You really need to make sure that you plan for your environments. What's the hardware I need? What are the operating system and software requirements? How am I going to set it up? Do I need a gateway server? Do I have sites with high latency, etc.? So the first step into designing a proper Operations Manager environment is make sure that we plan. We need to ask ourselves, what are the monitoring scenarios we'll support? Are we just going to do the component monitoring, or do we also want to provide application monitoring? Are we going to have non-Windows machines in there, for instance, Linux, or are we going to connect to some clouds like Azure, Office 365 to monitor them? Like we just said, are we going to do the security monitoring with ACS? And maybe also a part that not a lot of people use today, but it's very valuable if you need it, is the client monitoring. Are there key PCs or key sites where from a PC perspective I want to monitor that site? And do I need to design for client monitoring? Then that's also something to take into account when creating a design. The other thing, of course, to look at is, do I need third-party integrations? Are there management packs I need from certain vendors? Do I have connectors into other systems? What are their requirements? Are they connecting into a management server? Can I use an agent? And those will probably also matter from a scaling perspective, but also from a budget perspective. And certainly not least is, are there any requirements for providing high availability? What is the SLA I will be providing on the system itself? Do I need a big resource pool to handle the high availability? How am I going to do it from a database perspective? Do I need a SQL high availability with, for instance, SQL always on? And so these are things to take into account when designing, I guess. Now, if you look at the deployment, there's a couple of types of deployment you can do. I guess the single server deployment is really something you would only use for maybe a test or development environment. Maybe it's just for a proof of concept or a pilot. The single server deployment works. It's one VM or one server where you install all of the parts. It should probably be a beefy server so it still works fluently, but it's certainly not designed for scale, not designed for high availability. So you quickly get into a distributed deployment if you want to run it in production. And I would say that 99% of all the deployments will use a distributed deployment. You can do that really small scale where just 1 or 2 or 3 servers are split out, or you can of course have a bigger environment where there's all sorts of roles that are split out, created high availability, and that you can then distribute amongst your environment. Now, I've added some links to the TechNet articles, both for the single server deployment as well as the distributed deployment. And we'll be making sure that you get the slides afterwards so you can reference these URLs and get a bit of a deep dive on how those deployments would look like. Now, for inspirational purposes, this is a sample distributed topology. The whole infrastructure would be called a management group, and then within that management group, every role or a lot of the roles can be made high available. You'd see a couple of things, for instance, SQL Server clusters that we're using for both the operational DB as well as the data warehouse DB. There's a couple of management servers that pooled together in what we call a resource pool. There are agents, so Windows Server and of course the Linux agents, but there might also be agentless clients. And there's a big firewall, and on the left you see an untrusted domain where we're using gateway servers that are also available in a failover state so that you can connect all the machines that are not part of your domain where Operations Manager runs. You see the various ports, so you see Operations Manager using different ports for Unix and Linux computers as opposed to Windows computers. And for those of you that have been around as long as I've been in Operations Manager space, it's a fun detail to see that the Unix Linux computers are using the port that was actually used in the MOM 2005 installation era. And today, of course, we're using the 5723 for Windows. But again, this allows you to plan for your firewall changes, maybe the VMs you need or other installations you want to do up front. And if you look at such a high available environment, you can target up to 15,000 agents. It allows for monitoring across all kinds of trust boundaries. You get the reporting, etc., etc. So this is something that's quite there for a distributed environment. It will vary, of course, depending on your own requirements and environments. There are some recommended limits. It's not to say that the installation will stop by any means if you reach them, but it's something where performance is more or less still acceptable when staying under these limits. One of them being is the active operations console, so the concurrent number of consoles that you should probably keep under 50. Number of agent monitored computers reporting into a management server, you should probably keep them under 3,000 and 2,000 for being a gateway server. If you're using agentless, you can achieve a higher number of agents per management server. And of course, there's a couple of caveats when you're multi-homing. You can also only multi-home to 4 environments at once if you're using multiple Operations Manager deployments. If you're looking at the Unix or Linux computers, there's roughly 6,000 that you can now support within a management group if you're having 50 consoles, and you can beef that even more up if you're having less open consoles. This number is twice as high as that we had in System Center 2012 R2. Now continuing on, you see things like network devices, between 1,000 or 2,000 depending on resource pools. There's application performance monitoring, and this is why I said if you're going to do the application monitoring perspective and going to enable APM, you want to keep the number of agents under 700, number of URLs per management server, etc. So this is purely here for reference. If you're going to design and you have a big environment, of course, then these are the things you want to care about. Now, there are hardware and operating system requirements. The operating systems that we support with System Center 2016 is 2012 R2 and 2016. And of course, Windows Server 2016 will be coming out directly alongside with the System Center. So that should be available day one. That's certainly a supported OS, and 2012 R2 is as well. Then the question we get a lot is what's the requirements for my virtual machine, for my server? And there's not a one-size-fits-all. It really depends on your configuration, on the number of servers, number of agents, and the things we just discussed about. Now, Microsoft did provide you with a bit of guidance. It's an Excel sheet you can download from the link I specified in the deck. And when you open up the Excel sheet, as you can see in the screenshot here, you can go to a certain scenario. You can input your numbers. So, for instance, number of agents. It will start providing you with the guidance of the recommended environment. Same goes for database size. It will be a guesstimate. Of course, it will try and guess what the size could be, and you could start to provision such storage based on the sheet. And so I would recommend using this sheet if you're going to design for your environment. Now this is if you want to install a new environment, but we're expecting, certainly the people on this webcast, that you already have Operations Manager running, probably 2012 or 2012 R2, and that you want to upgrade from that point into 2016. So we're going to look into how to approach that and how to do that. Now there's only one upgrade path, if you will, but I've specified how to get there if you're still on SP1. The supported upgrade path is only from Operations Manager 2012 R2. So you need to be on R2, and then you can do an in-place upgrade for all the components into Operations Manager 2016. If you're still on SP1, you first need to get into R2. Make sure that happens. You're on the latest update roll-up, and then again from R2 you can step into 2016. So there's an intermediate step when you're still on SP1. Now, of course, you might be looking at System Center as a whole. You might already be running System Center Configuration Manager. You might have Service Manager or other items installed, and you might have connectors and connections between them. Then you need to take care about and plan for upgrade sequencing. Because if you're running two or more components and you're having connections in between of them, it's extremely important even to make sure that you do them in the right order so that nothing breaks and that actually your upgrades keep working. Now this is a delicate process. It's too much information maybe for this webcast. We can certainly come back to it later, but there's a TechNet article I'm referencing in the deck that you can go to. It outlines all the steps and all the things you need to do and when to do the Operations Manager part of System Center Suite. So do take note and make sure that this is happening. Now the other dependency you might have is where you're running Operations Management Suite or OMS in short already. And that's of course Microsoft's cloud service where they're providing with lots of management capabilities. And one of the features is that you can connect your OMS environment into your Operations Manager environment and vice versa. And you might already have your management group connected. Now the good part is don't worry about it. Just make sure you upgrade in place and it will actually keep working. During the upgrade, contact between systems might be lost for momentarily, but when it gets back up, the connection with OMS will be there and nothing needs to be done in the meantime. Microsoft will make sure that OMS is ready to accept your Operations Manager 2016 environment on day one, that the general availability of System Center is there. So the good thing here is just upgrading, you'll be fine. Now if you're going to do an upgrade, there's a couple of options you have. If you're running a single server management group, you can just do the upgrade all at once because all the features that are installed on that single server will be upgraded together. Of course, this is handy for your test environment, for your POC, and we're assuming that your production environment has more than a single server, so this is maybe not the way for you. If you are upgrading a distributed management group, so you have a couple of servers that make up for your management group, then again there's upgrade sequencing. So you need to make sure that certain features are upgraded before others. For example, you need to upgrade your managed service first, then your gateways, then your consoles, etc., and then upgrade the remaining features. There's also a couple of things you need to do before you upgrade and whenever you finish the upgrade to make sure that your environment works. And we'll look at the next slide on what needs to be done there. Now, if you feel that you need a new environment because you want to start over or you want to start from a clean slate or whatever the reason is, You can also do a side-by-side installation where you build up a new Operations Manager 2016 environment, and you design it, you make sure it's running well, and then you can actually multi-home your agent. So you can take a server that you're already monitoring, specify a configuration that it needs to connect to a second management group, and it will be also connecting into that 2016. You can make sure everything's proper, your dashboards are all right, the monitoring is flowing, and then you can actually tell the agent to leave the other management group, and this way you'll have a seamlessly and smooth experience going into a new management group. So that's certainly the third option when considering an upgrade. Now let's look at those high-level steps for upgrade. We need to start at step 1, which is the pre-upgrade tasks. You need to make sure that your operational database has enough free space, that certain scripts are run before time, etc., etc. Now these things are all specified in the installation and upgrade documentation, but just want to make sure it's there, so don't just start the installation media and start the upgrade. Make sure you do the pre-upgrade tasks beforehand. Then we need to start upgrading our management server, at least the first one, and then upgrade the additional management servers. Again, it's in place, just run the installation media, it will take care of installing. Make sure that the operating system you're running it up is also supported, so that we can actually finish the installation. Then you could consider to upgrade ACS as a third step, the security monitoring piece, because the ACS collector lives on a management server. And whenever you're upgrading management servers, the ACS component of it will also be upgraded. So you might as well now upgrade the database and the forward is there so that your security monitoring keeps flowing. Step 4 would be to upgrade the gateways, check connectivity and the reporting back into management servers, upgrade your consoles afterwards, and then we need to worry about the agents. So install the agents as part of my management software, maybe with Configuration Manager or otherwise, or use the Operations Manager console to push out the new agent from there. And if I did install the agents manually in the past, I need to make sure I do it the same, because they're flagged as manual installs. I need to take care of the upgrade manually again, which could still be through my favorite management software. Then upgrade your web console, upgrade your reporting server, and perform the post-upgrade tasks. There's a couple of cleanup things you need to do so that the management group runs smooth. And from this part on, there could be a step 10, if you will, to upgrade your management packs from the vendors you have, and also the connectors to other systems you have. So this is the high-level step for upgrade for Operations Manager itself. Now we talked about the pre-upgrade tasks. Here are the things that you need to do. I'm not going to go over them and every part of it, but they're quite self-explanatory. Certain things that will actually that you actually need to make sure is things like the free space in your database, the backup, the cache size, a couple of other things so that monitoring is not lost. And of course, disabling those subscription connectors and everything will make sure that the upgrade goes smooth, and then you can upgrade the software, enable them again afterwards. This is here for your reference, so they can take the slides afterwards as well. Now, one of the key things I want to point out is there's a wonderful health check management pack or report collection, if you will, provided by our good friends Oscar Landman and Pete Zerger. They perform a health check of your current environment. So this could be something that you take beforehand, that you run in this quick way, have an oversight of an overview of your environment, and see the health of your environment. It's downloadable from the TechNet gallery. So the second link is where you get the free health check reports. And then the first link is a reference to a blog where they explain how to install it, what it does, what you can gain from it. And I would actually recommend installing this in your environment nevertheless, and making sure that you run this every couple of weeks or so, that you make sure your environment is all healthy. So thanks to our good friends Oscar and Pete for providing this to the community. Now, there's lots of questions you might have, and I'll try and answer them when we get to that in the next slide. But if you want to have some assistance in on-site or remote designing or upgrade your environment, do reach out. We have lots of great partners like Cortec in the Nordics or in the US. We have Catapult, we have Infront, we have Innovative, lots of great friends, H&D in Germany, VAS approved, of course, in the Nordics. So we want to make sure that all these partners are available to you, and you can reach out to us, so we'll reference you afterwards and make sure that you get the assistance that you need in your environment. So want to make sure you know that we can help you link into the great partners we have around us.